Let's talk for a minute. Probably about 15 years ago, one of my coworkers said to me, so what's this SCA thing you do on the weekends? I thought about that for a second and I shrugged and I said, well, take about 250 social rejects, put them in funny clothes, and then divvy up evenly between them knitting needles, wooden swords, and paintbrushes. And then put them all in the campsite together, and you kind of get the idea. And as much as my wife hates when I tell that joke, because she is so sick and tired of hearing me repeat it, and I'm guilty as charged, I repeat it. The fact of the matter is that everyone I've ever told that to who's been playing for a while all agree that that's a really good summary of the SCA. And that kind of segues into a conversation I've seen happen a lot lately. This comes up a lot. It's nothing earth-shattering, but it's a conversation I want to have here. And that's people ask, well, you're in a LARP then, right? No, we're not in a LARP. And I've done LARPing, so I can speak with a little bit of authority on this, or at least some experience if we want to be technical. When that conversation happens, invariably, it turns into a conversation about why SCA is better than LARP. And I don't want to have that conversation, because that's not what this is about. The SCA is an organization that fills an interest in individuals' lives. Guess what? So is the LARPing community. It's just different interests. I know a number of really good friends of mine who live action role play. And I know a number of live action role players who played SCA in their past and moved out of the SCA because they had more interest in role play. And that's fine. The SCA appeals to a different set of interests, and that really is where we need to start that conversation. Now, first of all, at its core, based on my experiences, if anyone knows differently, feel free to chime into the comments. LARP is a story-driven environment. You are there to further a narrative, which is usually controlled by one, maybe two game masters, story masters, dungeon masters, whatever nomenclature you want to use. But these are meetings to tell a story. Now, I've seen LARPs that were extremely reality-based. As a matter of fact, the airsoft community in some corners is now embracing role-playing to help further their games, where instead of just an excuse to run around like mad and shoot, you have different peoples playing different roles, and you have to interact with these people in an environment where you can, in a simulated sense, come out and shoot if things go sideways. It's kind of an interesting concept. I won't lie, I want to try this sometime. But the fact remains, this is still story-driven. This is a chance to further a story, which at the end of the day, that story is being guided or adjusted or sometimes forced through the creative controls of one person. If you go to a LARP, everything you do in that LARP ultimately has to go through the filter of the game master, or the masters if there's more than one of them. In the SCA, we're not story-driven. We are effectively interest-driven. The SCA is a framework in which we play, but my wanting to go study carpentry, for example, or metal casting, for example, or sculpting, I don't have to go through anyone to learn that skill. I just have to go learn. I have to talk with people who will teach me or do the research myself. And there's no goal at the game level for this. There's not this, oh, I need to level up. There's not this, I need to accomplish this in order to go on this journey or this quest or whatever. It's an interest that I want to fulfill. And as much as we want to say, oh, but the fighters, and I've heard this conversation happen, oh, but the fighters want to become better sword fighters so that they can win more tournaments. Okay, yes, that's fair. Just like any other competitive sport, we want to improve our skills. That doesn't automatically make us live action role players. But the other aspect of it is, I think any of the fighting community, be it rapier or heavy, will tell you that there is also character building that goes into what they do. And a lot of them, there's a huge number of fighters I know who, they don't want to win. They're not there to win. They're not there to rack up tournaments. They're there to have fun. They're there to interact with their friends. And some of the best fighter practices sometimes are the ones where you don't win a single fight. And as a former fighter, I can tell you, some of the most memorable fighter practices I ever went to, I lost every single freaking engagement I got into. Oh dear Lord, I had the bruises to go with. I still had a blast. I still had a blast. In LARP, I mean, you can have fun either way, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, you need to win your fights, you need to meet your challenges in order to advance the story. So, does that make one better than the other? No, and I want to re-emphasize this, because we've all been there, we've all had the, oh, so you're a LARP, or isn't that a LARP, or, well, what's the difference between you and LARP? Please, 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 do not go down this road of saying we are better than a LARP. Because I've heard people say that. I've heard people imply it with the way they phrase stuff. They go, oh, well, we don't do that, we do this, or, no, we're better than that. No. The live-action role-play community and the Society for Creative Anachronisms have a massive overlap in what interests they appeal to. When you get down to the fine print, when you get down to the details of it, we do appeal to different sets of interests. In the SCA, we appeal to the interest in learning about things medieval. And we try very, very hard to do it through a historical lens. Is the SCA developing kind of its own infrastructure that's non-historical that we have to learn about as well, just to kind of work within it? Yeah, kind of comes with the territory. But the reason for the SCA at the end of the day is to learn about different aspects of history. The reason for live-action role-play is to learn things to advance the narrative, to advance the story. And that's a very different metric. That's a very different approach. Now, are both valuable? Are both good? Yes. Yes, I know plenty of people who love what they do in the SCA and in live-action role-play. Are both contributing to making people's lives better? Yes. Yes, they are. And I'm not going to stomach any conversation otherwise, because the fact of the matter is both have a lot to offer. If your interest goes that way, that can be a very fulfilling hobby. Can you do both? Yes, you absolutely can do both. Can you hop between one or the other? Yeah, you absolutely can. They're not mutually exclusive in the least. And there are people out there who treat them like they are, and I just kind of want to put that to bed as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, the next time you see a conversation where they say, oh, isn't that LARPing, or how is that not LARPing? Approach it from the standpoint of they are both interesting, they are both engaging, they are both fun, and this is how we're different. So that's my contribution to the conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I will see you all at the next event. Until then, goodbye, and God bless.